keeper. I got my school to spend money, get it transferred into pounds and sent off to buy tests from David Hill. And then, of course, I came across the Day and Bamford text, which became, almost like a holy book for extensive reading for a while. And I was completely convinced of this as a methodology for these learners if we could find materials that were super, super simple. I'm not sure we ever succeeded at that, but in the process, I was able to convince the program and a number of teachers to really investigate and implement an extensive reading program. And somewhere along the way, I heard about Extensive Reading Foundation. I didn't even really, wasn't looking for it. And of course, then, my eyes were really opened, and I think I've been at every World Congress and participated in the two online, and wherever you are next time, I hope that I can still fly that far and come to that one. Unfortunately, we don't have an affiliate in the United States, and that might be because people often think, well, one, it's a big place, a lot of people, but I've heard it here and I've heard it elsewhere that people think that there's this huge difference between ESL and EFL. Well, after all, those ESL students, they've got all that English around them. Well, you would think, but that is actually not reality. The reality is, and there's been research done on it, international students, when they leave the classroom, spend almost all of their time in their L1 cohort of students or local community. So, and being a very multicultural, multilingual country, especially in the larger cities, they can almost always find grocery stores, restaurants, and now with social media, the few surveys I've done, they are spending, honestly, some of them when they first come are spending between 8 and 11 hours a day online, outside of class, and that's all in their first language. We also have this situation where global politics as they are, the student populations really vary over the decades about who's coming to study, and for a large part in the last number of years, except more recently, many of our students, the highest group of students, come from China. And so I have found myself in the last couple of decades, or last 10 years, very often teaching ESL to a homogeneous L1 group. What's the difference? I also found myself teaching in San Francisco, which really is a Chinese city for the most part. And so these are students who spend almost no time in English outside the classroom. So I find myself actually, and many teachers like me across the US, in like circumstances to EFL contexts. They have the same social media opportunities, but in fact they choose to stay in their L1 communities. That's the normal thing. Well, just imagine yourself, heading off to a foreign country. Usually we try to find somebody pretty quickly who we can communicate well with. So once I got hooked up with ERF, I went gangbusters to see what I could do to implement that. And I can say that I've started several programs, and I've got some graduate students out there who have started programs, but we can't seem to get administrators, in the room, to buy in at the same degree that individual teachers do, and so often these programs aren't sustained over time since they do take commitment. So that's how I got here. But along the way, I continued to do my own research and reading, which has led me, of course, heavily influenced by many of you here, been influenced by Pollination, and you'll see the citations throughout, Rob Waring, all kinds of people here, which made me kind of nervous about this presentation. I prefer to present in a country where nobody I refer to is in the audience. So I apologize in advance. Don't leave, Rob, don't leave. Okay, so please, I apologize up front if I got Willie's in there. I mean, if I got your dates wrong or something, I'll correct it later. But I really found myself considering not just ER or extensive listening, which I've also implemented, and I'm going to talk about that. I added that to the presentation after. about the balanced curriculum and recognizing the role that fluency